Calculating percentages is obviously a very vital skill for us to be able to do, not just in a maths class, but in the real world beyond. Now, we can do this without a calculator, we can do it with a calculator. Without a calculator is a skill that's vital, and we'd hope that we could do by breaking percentages down. However, quite often, for ease, for speed, and for efficiency, we want to be able to use a calculator. So it's effective and important for us to be able to understand how to use a calculator quickly, easily, and effectively to calculate any percentage of an amount. That's what we're going to discuss here. First thing I want you to do is ask yourself and see if you can remember what the word percentage means. Because knowing what that word means leads us into the base of the skill for being able to use a calculator. Now, I want you to basically remember that the word percentage means per 100 or out of 100. Essentially what it means is we're going to do is take the amount and we're going to split it into 100 equal sized parts. We're then going to take the number of these portions that we desire, so whatever our percentage is, and that's going to be our solution. So following that logic, the way that we're going to approach this is we're going to start by dividing it into 100 equal parts, and then we're going to look at what percentage do I want and take as many of those things as we can. Now, using that logic and thinking of those, that leads us on to quite a nice, straight, simple formula that we can use with a calculator. And that's this formula here, and I've expressed it in two slightly different ways because you see it written down two slightly different manners sometimes. The first one is the original amount divided by 100 multiplied by the desired percentage. That's one way of doing it. The second one is the same formula, but I've taken the original amount divided by 100 and I've written that in terms of a fraction. Sometimes you'll see that written in worksheets, you'll see it written in formula lists, you'll see it written in the real world textbooks, etc. Both variations have appeared, but actually both variations mean the exact same thing. Essentially, you take what you have, divide it by 100 to split it into those 100 equal parts, and then multiply by the desired percentage, and that takes however many you want from that amount. It's a very, very simple, straightforward formula to use. The biggest thing, to be honest with you, that you need to remember is how to push the buttons on a calculator correctly. Remembering to do that is vital, and if you can do it, you'll nail something like this every single time. So let me show you a couple of examples of what I mean. So let's imagine the first one I've got here. I want to calculate 70% of 40. Now, 70% is quite nice because if I didn't have a calculator handy, I could break it down, do 7 10%, do a 50% plus a 20%. I could do something like that. But if I had access to my calculator, I would just say, screw it, I want to do this as fast as I can. So what I'm going to do it is follow the formula and the idea I just said. Take the original amount, divide it by 100, multiply it by the percentage. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 40, I'm going to divide it by 100, and I'm going to times it by 70. And that's it. I enter that in my calculator, and I hit the equals button, and I get my solution out. And in this case, it's 28. So 70% of 40 is 28. Job done. Let's imagine I say I want to calculate 19% of 124. The logic holds the same. Split to 100 pieces. All I want this time though is I want 19 of those 100 pieces. So I'm going to take 124 and I'm going to divide it by 100 to make the split, and then I'm going to multiply by 19 to take as many as I want. Doing that gives me 23.56. So 19% of 124 is 23.56. The next one, calculate 27% of 154. Same idea, 154 divided by 100. There's my splitting it into the 100 parts. And then I'm going to times it by 27 to take 27 of them. What that ends up giving me is 41.58. For each of these calculations, you can just hit them in one line. There's no point giving yourself extra work to do or overly complicating or stretching out the process. Just remember when you're hitting it in the calculator to put it in the right order and you're fine. Last one, 81% of 296. Again, same drill. 296 divided by 100 times it by 81. That then ends up giving me 239.76. So calculating those percentages using a calculator is fairly quick, easy and straightforward as long as we remember that formula. So a couple of quick ones for you to have a ping at. I'll put them up, pause and have a go, check what you've done. Hopefully you've managed those. So let's start with 20% of 65. Now I can do that one very easily without a calculator. Remember, to get 20% of something, we just divide by 5. So if I fancied, that could be a check. However, if I had a calculator, I could follow my routine formula. 65 divided by 100 and multiply it by 20. Doing that will give me 13. Same as dividing by 5 will give me 13. That will give me 13 as well. Second one, 35% of 95. Same drill, follow the formula, divide it by 100, times it by the percent I want, which in this case is 35. What that will end up giving me is 33.25. So there you go, 35% of 95 is 33.25. C, third one, 23% of 69. Again, this one, 69 divided by 100. I'm then going to multiply it by 23, take my 23%, so take 23 of those parts. That'll end up giving me is 15.87. So give me 15.87 is my 23% of that. D, 79% of 142. We do 142 divided by 100, and then we're going to times it by 79 to get my 79% of it. And in this case, I'll get 112.18 as my solution. And then this last one here, 99% of 327, same drill. 327 divided by 100, and I'm then going to multiply it by 99 to take almost every single one of those 100 parts. What that end up giving me is 323.75. The process has been the same in every single one of those. The only things that have changed are the number I'm dividing by 100 and what I'm multiplying by to get the percentage. That first step of splitting it into 100 equal parts by dividing by 100 is the same every single time. Calculating with a calculator, you follow these steps and you'll nail it every time. So what are the rules for this one then? Well, the rules are quite simple. We had to understand what a percentage meant to begin with, dividing it into 100 equal parts, i.e. per 100, that was fairly straightforward. And once we got our head around that, we were then able to come up with a standard formula we can use with a calculator. There's the two ways again that I said we could write it. Original amount divided by 100 times the desired percentage, or express original amount over 100 as a fraction, multiply your answer by the desired percentage. Either way will give you the same one. And again, last point there is a contextualize your answer where appropriate reminder. Those ones there have just been numbers. Sometimes it'll put it in context of money, weight, length, etc. You have to make sure you contextualize it with units as appropriate or describing the scenario. Don't forget that it could cost you silly marks and you don't want to do it. Always remember, think smart, solve fast.